All right, guys, so in a twist of fate that is driving the woke revolutionaries insane, MLB, right, Major League Baseball, remember, they pressured them to move the All-Star game out of Atlanta in response to Georgia's election integrity laws that they say, allegedly keeps black people from voting because they don't believe black people are smart enough to get IDs, right? So MLB, because they're woke, right, and they're weak, they folded, right? They folded to the woke revolutionaries and moved the All-Star game out of Atlanta in protest of that law. Now, again, like I said, in a twist of fate, the Atlanta Braves have made it to the World Series, which means that the World Series is going to be in Atlanta, right? Or at least some of the games are going to be in Atlanta, right? So this has pissed off the woke revolutionaries. They're upset, right? They're upset about this. And because of that, they are now going after the Atlanta Braves and the Tomahawk chop. And they're saying that it is racist and offensive to Native Americans. So as per usual, MSDNC marches out their number one race baiter, Joy Reid, to come out here and tell us why this chop is racist and that it is an embodiment of quote-unquote Trumpian white privilege. Take a look.
The World Series between the Atlanta Braves and the Houston Astros is happening now, shifting to the stadium in Atlanta for the next 3 games, which means viewers across the country will soon be subjected to a particular show of fandom that has roiled baseball for decades. And that's the Tomahawk chop. Correction, the racist Tomahawk chop. A synchronized movement of the arm by Atlanta fans at home games, a gesture and chant promoting stereotypes, caricatures, and frankly, hatred of Native American people. The chop gets its World Series spotlight starting tomorrow, as other teams are retiring such appropriation. The Washington football team ditched its former name, a racial slur we will not be repeating here. And the Cleveland Indians banished their extremely offensive logo and also changed their name to the Guardians. This week, Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred came out in defense of Atlanta, saying, quote, the Native American community in that region is fully supportive of the Braves program, including the chop. But yeah, no. Because Native Americans and allies have protested the chop for at least 30 years, including actual Native American baseball players like Cardinals reliever Ryan Helsley, a member of the Cherokee Nation who was forced to pitch amid the chop when his team faced the Braves. The National Congress of American Indians responded to Manfred, saying Native people are not mascots. Degrading rituals like the tomahawk chop that dehumanize and harm us have no place in American society. And yet it's all over American society and will be on national TV in 24 hours. You got to wonder, how on earth is this happening? But we know, don't we? It's allowed for the same reason that white parents are allowed to erase centuries of truth from U.S. history. Why they get to expunge Toni Morrison books or any mention of Andrew Jackson's role in exterminating Native people from their land. That entitlement, that incredible sense of white privilege, which boils down to complete impunity for them while the rest suffer. Isn't that what the cult of Trumpism is? And what this offensive, gross tomahawk chop embodies? So it's no wonder that Donald Trump is reportedly attending Game 4 in Atlanta. The chop, a fitting soundtrack for a wannabe despot who feeds off hate and whose core belief is that racists can do whatever they want, as others are ridiculed, erased, and reduced to the very stereotype that justified a genocide. The belief that it's your right to use team-sanctioned racism to root for the home team, that is the absolute worst. And that's tonight's ReidOut.
All right, guys, so I find this little rant here from Joy Reid to be hilarious for multiple reasons. One, I love how she finds a way to bring up Trump, right? She finds a way to throw in Trump when it comes to this tomahawk chop and blame him for this tradition, right? As if Trump made it up or Trump caused this, right? When Trump has literally nothing to do with this whatsoever, right? So I find it hilarious how she tries to blame him because she actually is obsessed with him, right? She's the person talking about spreading hate and hatred, right? I mean, sounds to me like every single day on her show, she is in fact the one that is spreading hatred. But what I also find hilarious is that she tries to say that this is some form of white privilege, right? The same way she tried to connect it to Trump. However, in the video that she showed, there is literally a black person in the video doing the chop, right? There's a black person doing the chop, right? Is he a part of white supremacy as well, Joy? Okay, is he a part of that? I don't know. You tell me. But what I really find interesting, guys, is how there's a trend that every single time there's something about Native Americans, right, that's in the news that people may or may not find offensive. Again, I can't speak for Native Americans, and I really can't even speak for black people. I'm just saying, this is just my opinion. I find it interesting how black people always want to march out here and defend Native Americans, right? And again, I have nothing against Native Americans whatsoever. I'm just trying to make a point. When a lot of these woke revolutionaries complain about is white people and how their biggest sin, according to them, is enslaving black people. But they have nothing to say. They never have anything to say about the Native Americans who also enslave black people, right? Again, it goes back to that video that I did about that professor at Rutgers University pretending like history is just white people trying to dominate everybody else, and everybody else live together in peace and harmony and kumbaya, and there was never any conflict, right? That's kind of what it reminds me of. And Joy Reid here conveniently, ironically, brings up history, but she never wants to bring up that part of history. That they never talk about that. They always want to complain about slavery all day and the white man's sins, but they want to come out here and defend Native Americans who also were slave owners, right? Matter of fact, they wanted their slaves. They wanted them more than the white man wanted the slaves, right? They didn't want to give them up. Okay, that's why they still tried to keep slavery a thing even after it was abolished in this country, right? You can look this stuff up. These are just facts. Again, that I have nothing against Native Americans whatsoever. I'm just purely just saying I find it interesting how she wants to talk about history, right? Talk about, oh, white people are trying to erase history, as if everybody doesn't know about the Trail of Tears. Yes, everybody knows that Andrew Jackson was responsible for that. Yes, everybody knows all the things that she talks about that she claims white people are trying to erase. Everybody knows that. Everybody learns that in their history class. Okay? But what people don't learn is about, again, Native Americans and the history and the relationship they have with black people in this country, right? And again, I don't feel any type of way about Native Americans and slavery the same way I don't feel any way about white people and how they own slaves, or even black people that own slaves, right? Black people own black slaves too, right? Native Americans were slaves as well, okay? Again, that's just history. But these same people like Joy Reid, who always want to complain about so-called cultural appropriation, she wears a weave almost every single day. I mean, the weave that she's wearing right now, she's dyed a little blonde. It doesn't match her natural hair. In my opinion, I feel like she's appropriating white people, right? Because her hair is not naturally like that, right? These same people who go out here and wear Indian weave, right? Hair that's not even theirs, will complain about white people and cultural appropriation. But you won't even wear your own hair, right? You wear somebody's hair that's from another culture, right? These same people will go out here and get tattoos with Chinese symbols and letters on them, but they want to complain about cultural appropriation. They want to complain about cultural appropriation. When you appropriate other people's cultures all the time and nobody says anything to you. Well, why is that? Because you have privilege. You are actually the real people that have privilege. You can do that and ain't nobody gonna say anything to you about it. But if a white person was to go out here and wear braids, right, you'd be complaining all day. But you can wear weave and dye blonde, right, hair that's not even yours, and nobody's going to say anything about it. But you want to talk about privilege. Yeah, these people blow my mind. They really do. Now, in regards to, again, the Native Americans, I can't speak for them because I'm not Native American. I can't even speak for black people. I only can speak for myself. I've been reading up on this, and yes, there are some Native American groups that are offended by this. However, there's only one group in particular that's in that market that the Braves are concerned about. And we're actually going to read here what he said about this and how he thinks that this is not a real issue and that there are more pressing issues for Native Americans to worry about, as the MLB is sticking behind this, and they're sticking behind it because they're saying, hey, listen, the tribe or the group of Native Americans that are in our market, they actually support this, right? They support this. They're cool with it. Okay. So let's actually read here, because again, the woke revolutionaries won't talk about stuff like this. Okay. But I really do resonate with this Native American chief who is talking about this subject, because I feel kind of the same way about this as the same way I feel about some issues when it comes to black people. So let's read here. As the World Series shift to Atlanta, some TV viewers may be offended to see Braves fans still chopping and chanting enforcement. After teams in the NFL and Major League Baseball have dropped names considered racist and offensive to Native Americans in the last 2 years, the Braves chop on with the support of Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred. What matters most to Manfred is the Braves have the support of the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians based in North Carolina, about 3 hours from Atlanta. Quote, the Native American community in that region is wholly supportive of the Braves program, including the CHOP, Manfred said Tuesday. For me, that's kind of the end of the story. In that market, we're taking into account the Native American community. Richard Sneed, principal chief of the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians, would like to see more outrage about what he says are far bigger issues facing Native Americans, including poverty, unemployment, child abuse, sexual assaults, and suicide. Quote, I'm not offended by somebody waving their arm at a sports game, Sneed told the Associated Press on Tuesday. I'm just not. If somebody is, that's their prerogative. It's their right. They can be offended. I don't know very many, maybe one or two from my tribe who say, yeah, I don't like that. But at the end of the day, we got bigger issues to solve, to deal with. Sneed said the problems with crime and poverty remain largely ignored when the national media has been on the team names and the Tomahawk chop. Quote, there's just so much happening, and the frustrating part for me as a tribal leader is when the only issue that seems to be discussed is how offended are you by the chop and should the Braves change their name. Really, it's the least of our problems, I guess, is what I am saying. Yeah, so here's the thing. What he's bringing up here is a great point, because the woke revolutionaries like Joy Reid, they love doing this. They will use your plight. They claim we care about Native Americans so much, right? We care about them so much that they will stand up for issues that really does not affect anybody's life whatsoever, like a chop, right? A gesture, right? They will stand up against that. However, they will not ever discuss. They will never give airtime to actual issues facing Native Americans. They won't give any airtime to it, right? Because they don't care. They're simply using the Native Americans and the plight and the things they went through simply to race bait and to virtue signal their wokeness, right? But they really don't give a damn about them, right? They really don't. Because they will never dedicate any airtime to any actual issues. And this is par for the course with liberal media, guys. This is par for the course. All they want to do is woke virtue signal. But again, just like when it comes to the Native Americans, black people as well, they do the exact same thing. They will go out here and outrage over the silliest stuff, but they never have anything to say about the real issues in the black community because they simply don't care. Right? You're a pawn, you're a tool on the liberal / Democrat chessboard. That's what it is. To quote my boy that wrote that article for Deadspin, right? But anyways, let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a black conservative perspective. Peace.